Okay, everybody, this is my spoiler review of episode 4 of Wednesday, titled Whoa, What a Night. This is a play on words for the Four Seasons song, Oh, What a Night. Now, this is directed by Tim Burton. This is the last episode he's doing of the season, unfortunately, and he's been doing such a good job, and exciting to see him doing TV. And I would say it's a great debut for him doing TV in general, directing wise. And this was written again by Kayla Alpert, who wrote the last episode, and I thought did a really good job, and that continues here. Before I get into my review, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm doing every single episode of Wednesday. You're not going to want to miss it, and these are meant to be companion pieces as you watch the show. So no spoilers for future episodes. We're going one at a time here, and make sure it's fresh for everybody down below. Just talk about episodes in the past or this one, but nothing ahead of time. I just have to say, and this episode really took it to the next level for me, is this character thing, because I don't think I can remember last time just a character in a show takes, if I'm rating the show on a point scale, this character thing alone, the way they use him in the show, takes the show up a full point for me, and how good it works and how great he looks, but also just the comedy with him, right? And that's already shown in the beginning when Wednesday is doing the autopsy on this old man we saw die. The last episode with the camera, she's having Thing look for files on the other victims at the morgue, and we see Thing just using a copy machine, how hard it would be for just a hand to do that. I thought that was brilliant. But not only that, but just when she goes to hide during the situation, that she hides in the fridge, you're like, well, how is she getting out of there? And it's just clever that they have Thing hide in the skeleton's head, and then he's the one to let Wednesday out of the fridge. It's just a great relationship between the two of them. I could watch them together. It's my favorite parts of the show is when they're just interacting. And props to Jenna Ortega, per usual, acting with a hand. Now, Wednesday, this episode for me really felt like an episode of Dexter, being that we get so much from inside of her head, her trying to figure out what this monster is. It feels like Dexter. You know what I mean if you've watched that show before. Especially with the Ted Bundy Pinterest board that Enid calls it. And I love when Enid passes out here and Wednesday says, fetch the smelling salts. Perfect. What I love they do with Wednesday, though, with her relationships with Xavier and with Tyler, is that they constantly show it as she doesn't care and she's doing it for the reasons we see on the surface, which is for her investigative reasons, everything she's doing, like asking Xavier to the dance. But deep down, and again, this is through Jenna Ortega's facial acting, there is more to it. She definitely has a crush on both of them, and that's the same with her friends. She definitely cares about Enid, cares about Eugene, and even has a sweet moment here with Bianca, which we're going to get to. But I love that they do it so subtly, and they don't botch the character of Wednesday and keeping it true to the character. But like the character of Wednesday we've seen in other iterations, there is parts of her that softens up, which is great. And why this is the best episode for Things so far is I'm going to keep talking about Thing because of how good it is. But he really is like a main character and needs to be talked about because he's like this father figure for her this episode where he is pointing out everything she really needs and taking the next step to do things she won't do herself. Like, he's the one who figures out where Enid was totally off about what dress Wednesday should wear to this dance, and he's the one who points out at Uriah's heap the gothic dress, which was perfect because he knows her better than anybody. And I love too when she has a really just bad moment with Tyler, telling him that she's going to dance with Xavier. She's like, I'm dealing with a lot right now. I need to prioritize. Just comes off bad. And Thing knows that right away. And I love Thing crawls up on her back and she's like, not one word. Just great. But it perfectly leads to Thing taking the step when her and Xavier fall through to ask Tyler out himself for Wednesday. And then he got the dress in time for her and that he wrote a sweet note to Tyler. That was just great. And then some of the great funny writing that Kayla Alpert's been doing throughout the show continues here. I love when Eugene's with Wednesday and now he's letting her put the Bundy board in his area. And Eugene says he's playing the long game for Enid and says, my mom says people will appreciate me when I'm older. Great line. And then Wednesday has a great line, too, where she's like, we don't need these inane rites of passage to validate who we are. Again, they're hitting that core audience that people who are attached to this character of Wednesday love, the outcasts, feeling like they don't fit in with everybody else, and that's okay. And I like that Wednesday's comforting Eugene. Again, a way for her to say something like that, but she really cares about Eugene and is comforting him there. You know, she doesn't want to admit that to herself. Now, I love the set piece of the Rave'N here, and I love that's the name of the dance, Rave'N. Great. It's interesting moment here when Weems says to Thornhill, make sure no one spikes the punch. Can't have a single misstep tonight. Thornhill makes a very strange reaction to this almost like that she thinks that's ironic, that she's up to something else. And this episode makes me put Thornhill to the top of the list of suspects, either is the monster or is helping the monster. Especially, like I had said, Christina Ricci being cast in this show, being the former Wednesday, her part has to have some very big significance. So I think she is in this boat definitely now, if something is up with her. Especially, too, because when we see this prank happen with the bullies with the blood, she was the one who says, okay, ready for the main event, making you think it's the last song. But she disappears and goes behind the curtains. Then is the one to show up to Wednesday when she has her vision. And then is the one to show up after Eugene's attacked by the monster. And even Wednesday is confused how she's there. But what's really important is we've only seen with visions with Wednesday, it's when she's touching something that's connecting to the vision. So then I was like, well, at the dance when she had the vision, the blood had already poured on her. She touches only strangers that we don't know, characters we don't know. Thornhill touches her after. So then you're like, well, what's triggering this vision with Eugene? Something there's connecting to the party of this monster, where I was controlling the monster with Eugene in that moment. And I think it's because Thornhill was in on the blood thing and that she touched the blood, and that's why Thornhill being part of that and then possibly being the monster or working with the monster connects to that vision with Eugene. That's what my gut's telling me, because I was unsure why she was having a vision at that moment, what was connecting her. So I think that just leans more and more to the Thornhill theory, but I could be completely wrong. Now, the funniest line of the show date for me is when Tyler first sees Wednesday coming down the steps in her dress, and he's like, wow, you look, and then she says, unrecognizable, ridiculous, a classic example of female objectification for the male gaze. That is what we call a chef's kiss line right there. And it continues on. I like that this storyline happens with Lucas and Enid, where they're using each other, but it's a twist on a twist, because Lucas isn't using her for the reason she thinks he is to get ex jealous. He's using it for the plan with the bullies, but he actually ends up liking Enid. So they're setting up Lucas to have a turn character here where he'll eventually be good. And that was heartbreaking for Enid when she finds that out, but she gets a very happy moment with Ajax after, which is nice. But I love when Lucas says to her, is that the abominable snowman that she's pointing at? And Enid says, you can't say that anymore. That is offensive. It's Yeti. I thought that was great. Now, what I also thought was interesting in this episode was Wednesday finally figures out from Xavier what Tyler did to him. And I like that Tyler just admits it was wrong. He has no excuses for his behavior, but he explains to Wednesday that he went to boot camp, is a changed person, and he says, I did a terrible thing, but I swear I'm not a terrible person. Again, this actually wins over Wednesday. That's why she'll still stay with Tyler to dance and dance with him, and probably why it gave mixed signals to Xavier and why he was heartbroken seeing Wednesday doing that after having just told Wednesday what happened to him from Tyler. But Wednesday's seeing it as, no, okay, Tyler did a bad thing, but she knows at the end of the day, he understands what he did, and he's not like that anymore from how he explained it. So this song, Goo Goo Muck by the Cramps, starts playing, and we get this Wednesday dance that will totally break the internet, Twitter, TikTok. There'll be a gif of this everywhere. But not only is it going to have that effect, it's a stardom moment for Jenna Ortega, who's already been star on the rise quicker and quicker. That's just rising each year, and this is, I think, just going to take her to the moon here. And she does such a good job with this dance, and what's great about this dance, it doesn't feel forced in, because this is Wednesday. We know, as they even say in this episode and past episodes, that Wednesday doesn't care what other people think. So it makes total sense. This is the dance someone with that freedom would do. And I love when she taps Tyler behind him on the shoulder, and then he turns around the other side and she's just staring at him. That was great. So also Weems sees the dance and loves it. So again, I feel like she's that Professor Snape character where she's tough and hard on Wednesday, but she's looking out for her. But talking about her not caring about what people think about her, her nice moment with Bianca, where they have a rare bonding moment where Bianca says to her, you're lucky you don't care what people think of you. And she says, honestly, I wish I cared a little more. So more insight to Wednesday, that whole deep down emotion she's buries down with her mask. So I like we got a little touch of that. Also, I don't know if anyone got this vibes, but watching Eugene at the caves talking to the cell phone here, it just reminded me a lot of Dustin from Stranger Things, and I feel like those two would be best friends in a different world. But we see that somebody blows up the lair as Eugene sees it, and then this is either the person helping the monster or is the monster themselves. I'm still thinking it's Thornhill. And I love the shot in the woods here when Wednesday comes and runs for Eugene with the moonlight and her having all the blood on her. I thought that was a crazy good shot. And Eugene's attacked by the monster, and Wednesday is pissed here, and Thornhill's like, is he alive? So really makes Thornhill mysterious, and a great cliffhanger to hopefully see if Eugene makes it out or not. I hope he stays alive. He's a really good character. But again, this episode keeps rolling as the season has. I think it was very solid. I'm giving it 8.7. Nothing too much to nitpick here or complain about. If I am going to nitpick at all, maybe this is the one episode that so far leaned a little too much towards the Netflix vibes, where it's very relationships based and not totally 100% in the Addams Family tone, let's say. And I know they have to blend both, but maybe this was a little too far for my taste to the Netflix area of things, but that's a preference. I can't really hold that against them, so still really enjoyed it. I'm giving it 8.7. Let me know, though, what you thought of this episode. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I read every comment. I try to respond to as many as I can. And all my reviews are out for the show, so make sure to check them out. Please follow me at Steve Varley Show on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for more of me. And I'll see you next time.